Hello, this is Mrs. Hernandez, and in today's lesson, we're going to learn about the difference between a dynamic character and a static character. So let's start with, what do those words mean? Well, if you look up dynamic in the dictionary, it says characterized by constant change. So if a character is dynamic, that means that they are one way. We would describe them one way at the beginning of a story. By the end of the story, that character changes. Static. What does static mean? It means lacking in change. So there's no change for static. So a static character would be one way at the beginning of the story, and by the end of the story and throughout the story, they are the same. We would describe them the same way from beginning to end. So now, dynamic means change. Static means staying the same. So let's talk about this topic and use a story for an example. So there's a short story called The Medicine Bag. It's a really nice short story. And we're going to talk about two main characters, and that is Martin and his great-grandfather. Now, Martin, at the beginning of the story, he was insecure. He was very worried about what other people thought about him and his grandfather, and he wasn't very secure with his own identity and his ethnicity. But then his grandfather stayed with him and his family for 2 months, and he learned a lot from his grandfather. And by the end of the story, he was then confident and secure with his own identity and not ashamed of his great-grandfather and his culture. So Martin changed. We would have described him one way at the beginning, and by the end of the story, he changed for the better. So what type of character would he be? If you were thinking dynamic, you were right, okay? So now let's talk about his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather at the beginning of the story, he's a very traditional man, and he was very proud of his Native American traditions, and he was loyal to them. And throughout the story, as he stayed with Martin and his family, he was the same. And by the end of the story, he was still a traditional man, proud of his Native American traditions. So he stayed the same from beginning to the end. What kind of character would he be considered as? Well, if you were thinking static, you were right. Okay, so that is the difference between dynamic and static. I hope that this helped you understand that a little bit better. Thanks for watching.